these highs are always followed by lows, and you can't forget what you need to do on a daily basis. It was just a nice reminder that even though there will be some cool experiences and the business needs to run, there needs to be stuff needs to get done on a day-to-day business. The printer needs to work.
This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, where we talk to athletes, adventurers, and business owners from around the world of adventure sports. Whether you're climbing Mount Everest, starting a bike shop, or getting up off your couch to take your kids hiking for the first time, we want you to have the motivation and inspiration you need to chase that next adventure. The Adventure Sports Podcast is brought to you by Camp Crate, the leaders in fully planned self-guided backpacking adventures, as well as backpacking gear rental. You can check them out at campcrate.net. Before I knew better, I used to carry cans of food into the backcountry like a doofus. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. I use freeze-dried food, and I really only use Peak Refuel, the best backpacking food, the best freeze-dried food in the world. And if you keep listening to the episode, I can show you how to save 20% off an order if you want some. Oh man, what a week. It has been a long week. I don't know if it's been the same for you, but man, I'm glad it's Friday. And we have a Life Outside the Box episode that you are obviously listening to. And we kind of jump into it with the interview, but we were interviewing Ruben Martinez. He's the founder of Glamping Hub. And if you've never heard of that, it's based in Denver. They also have a headquarters in Spain as well. But they are like an Airbnb, very similar to that or VRBO, but for unique outdoor accommodations. So like tree houses and boat houses and tents, like canvas tents, like glamping tents. And if you're not familiar with the term glamping, it's just glamour camping. So it is a little bit outside the box for us. We're not talking to like an adventure sports enthusiast necessarily, but we are talking to someone who is getting people from staying in hotels to staying outside or staying in something much more conducive to adventure, and hopefully that will lead them to eventually do something like a Camp Crate where they go backpacking or where they go mountain biking or something, because a lot of their trips also have associated experiences near where they'll be staying. So if you're staying in a glamping tent outside of Moab, there might be some mountain bike place that's really close by that they encourage you to go try out as well. So it's kind of a unique experience. And we just kind of hear from Ruben about the idea of how to start it, some of the difficulties that it's been in the first, I think they were like 5 years in or so. And they went from just a handful of listings around Colorado to they're up to close to 40,000 listings worldwide now, and they have some incredible places listed on there. So if you're interested in doing something really unique for your next vacation, I definitely check out Glamping Hub. There's a lot of just unbelievable like lodging situations there. So check them out. I hope you enjoy our episode. As always, you can give us a call and leave a voicemail at 812-MAIL-POD. You can send us an email, info@adventuresportspodcast.com, or you can become a patron of the show and support us financially. Costs either $1 a month is our lowest tier. It also could be $5 a month or anything you want. And so it really goes a long way to support us, to help us out, and we appreciate it. All right, here's the episode. Enjoy, and please forgive me for my rambling. Not really. You founded and still operate Glamping Hub. Why don't you tell everyone what that is and why you're different than some of your competitors?
Sure. We started this back in 2011, 2012. And the reason that we started it was because we started looking online and we noticed that unique outdoor accommodations, there was a lot of information out there, but it was fragmented. So if an individual wanted to book something different and unique, there wasn't a one-stop shop, and there wasn't a place where they can go and get all the information that they needed. And so that was essentially the foundation around the idea of Glamping Hub. How do we provide just a different, unique experience for anybody who comes to our website, because it didn't take us long, during the research process to realize that there's thousands upon tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these types of accommodations all over the world. But we wanted to make sure that we provided the right experience, not only for the guest who is trying to book these types of accommodations, but also for the property owner, because each one of these properties, it's a different business with a different individual and a different team. And so they have different sets of needs. So what's different about us compared to any other website is that other websites like Airbnb or other booking engines, they're focused on the cities. They're focused on the metro area, and they do it really well. And that's just not a game that we're in. We are focused on the people who live in the city and who want to get outside and be in Mother Nature, but do something different, unique, and be comfortable. And a lot of our accommodations have either an activity, an experience like river rafting, rock climbing, cross-country skiing, fly fishing, wine tasting, that are either on site or in the area. And so we're different because we're not only highlighting the accommodation, but we're highlighting what you can do in the area, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So how do you guys do that? You don't actually outfit the experiences? Do you leave that up to the hosts, or do you partner with organizations that are doing, activities?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, but typically the host does a really good job of, they know their area, they know the local economy, they know the different outfitters. So they usually will typically set that up for the guests, so they can book it on our website and have an add-on experience or activity, or it's something that they can arrange once they're there on site and they're on the property. But the host is typically the one that does the arrangement. Now, moving forward in 2019, there'll be some more opportunity on our website for more kind of add-on experiences through other big partners. But for right now, the host usually leads the charge to make sure that if somebody's going to Moab, that they and they're staying in a safari tent, that they can, for example, have rent mountain bikes and all the gear that they need.
With glamping, it seems to be kind of on the rise here in the States. I know it's been big in the UK for a while and in Europe. Do you see this as a fad kind of coming and going, or how do you guys feel about it at Glamping Hub? Is this something like you think that's here to stay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it's actually a little overwhelming, the amount of growth. And so it's as far away from a fad as possible. There's big camps that keep popping up within the United States. There's a lot of properties that and everybody from small mom and pop shops to hotel chains that are getting into unique outdoor accommodations. So, when you think about it, the reason why it's been on the rise is because it literally has everything that you like about, traditional camping, and discards everything that you don't like. It's the opportunity to be able to experience Mother Nature, but be comfortable. It's the idea of being able to go on a long hike and experience, the mountains, but not have to go and essentially sleep on the floor. And we see the rise from a few different demographics, but in particular, millennials. Millennials over the next 16 months now will spend more on travel than any other generation. So that's a big stat there. And then also the fact that they will save more for travel than paying off student debt, than saving for a house. So travel is a huge initiative and priority for the millennial generation. And now they're coming into more purchasing power. And for that generation, that's now starting to get a little bit more disposable income. Doing something that's different and unique and outdoors is just right up their alley. So the demand is there, and then the supply is also on the rise. I mean, you look at small business owners, if they're going to go ahead and put up a traditional brick and mortar bed and breakfast, it's expensive. It's time labor. There's complicated zoning. And you need a lot of capital to be able to do that. For certain unique outdoor accommodations, it's a fraction of the cost. And so it's been able to see a lot of these business owners and landowners get creative. And that's what's different between the glamping industry in the United States and maybe other countries, countries like the UK, or regions like the UK and specifically England. They have a very kind of specific mindset when it comes to what glamping is. But America has done what America does best and has innovated, and basically you look at all these different property owners and they've just made it their own. They tailor it towards their market. They tailor it towards their property. They tailor it towards their expertise and what they want out of it. And there's been a lot of innovation here in the U.S. compared to other industries or other markets, and that's why it's not going anywhere. It's actually starting to take a new life of its own. And I mean, you just look at the visits that we receive on our website every single day. It's growing at a pretty rapid rate.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's good news, for you guys.
Sure.
It's not going to go anywhere. And hopefully if it ever declines, it's built a foundation that's here to stay. And, it's interesting seeing that it's kind of what I do. People want to have these authentic, really kind of in touch with nature experiences. But a lot of folks just don't know where to start. And if they're traveling somewhere, just a different type of lodging is a really simple and necessary way to start, because, you got to sleep somewhere. They might not be ready for like a crazy backpacking experience or a wilderness experience, but they're ready to stay in a soft-sided, literally canvas structure.
And I think that's what's great. You look at a state just like Colorado, where there's just an endless amount of options to be able to be outside. But for some people, just, to your point, it's daunting and can be, even traditional camping can be, expensive. So people who want to go up into, anywhere outside of Denver and do any of the countless outdoor activities that are provided, and they want to stay up there. If somebody's new to Denver, there's a lot of transplants. They may not have the tent and the cooler and the grill and the sleeping bag and the headlamp and everything that you need. And I go traditional camping several times a year, and I look at my garage and you still need a lot of stuff, like you do. And I've got 2 young daughters, and to go camping with a family is no small feat. I always joke that when we're doing these trips, I always say that my neighbors think one of 2 things are happening. One is that I'm moving because I'm loading so much stuff up into my car, or that if they don't know me, it looks like I'm robbing the house because I'm running out in just a furious fashion. So the beauty of being able to do these outdoor unique accommodations is that you don't need all that stuff. And it's great for people who might be new to the outdoors, where they can go and experience it and not have to go spend $2,000 on all the gear that you need. And it's a way where I think both industries win, because they can experience Mother Nature and then figure out, hey, I also want to do some more traditional camping. And now that I'm up here, I'm going to go, get into mountain biking. I'm going to get into rock climbing. I'm going to get into all the different experiences that, every state, has, but I think Colorado is blessed that there's just countless experiences that people can get into.
So yeah, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I used to carry cans of food into the backcountry, and I know there's a lot lighter things to do, but there's just a lot of options that aren't good for you or are either too heavy, and that's why I really do use Peak Refuel now. They're a new backpacking food company, and I say backpacking food, really it's just freeze-dried food that you can use for anything. I've actually eaten it for dinner before with my family because it's real food. It does not taste like backpacking food or hunting food or something that you're only going to eat in the backcountry. It's delicious, high in protein, nutritious. It is going to refuel you. It is filling, huge portions, and I really encourage you all to give it a shot. At least try it out. And that is peakrefuel.com. And if you want to get 20% off an order, use the code ASP20. And that's capital ASP and then 20. Now back to the episode. So, you started this company with your friend. What were those early days like? How quickly did you get a sense of, oh man, this is happening, or like, holy cow, this is really difficult?
Right. I mean, early days, I think for any business can be tough and challenging, but I think for us, there was always a sense of that this is going to be big, and there's just a lot to grapple with. And our challenge early on was always, well, how do we do this? And what's the best path forward? Because there's you look at unique outdoor accommodations and glamping specifically. I mean, there's weddings, there's music festivals, there's corporate retreats. So there's a lot of different directions that you can head. And so for us, what helped us was just try to stay true to our brand and who we're trying to serve, and our market in particular. I mean, we do very well in the United States, but Australia and New Zealand is a good market for us, Canada, Europe. And so as you look at all these big markets, it becomes daunting. So when we first started, we were just trying to figure everything out, and you make a lot of early mistakes, and you fail quickly, and you fail often. And for us, it took us a while, but we've done, I think, a really good job now of surrounding ourselves with people who are a lot smarter than we are, and making sure that we have a leadership team that is not only as dedicated, but as passionate, but as intelligent and more intelligent than we are, and who've been there and who've done what we're searching to do. And so, the early part of growing a business takes you to some pretty dark places, because there's just a lot of unknown, there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of failure. And I mean, that's the reason why a lot of businesses don't get to the second phase. I mean, why 90% of all businesses fail is because the first part of creating a business is tough, and you hear it. People will always say it, or you look at the stats, but until you experience what it's like to not make any money, until you know what it's like to that your heart beats so fast because you've just made a big mistake, or you've made a hiring mistake, or that feeling of, man, I don't know what I'm doing, then it becomes real. But without those experiences, I think it's very hard to get to phase 2 or 3, because it makes you, the business owner and the person and the friend and the coworker that you need to be. And the reality is that, for any outdoor business or any outdoor startup, there's just a lot of opportunity, and there's just the growth is incredible, and there's just a lot to handle. And so the reality is that you realize quickly that there's no shortcuts, and you.
Man, now that's good to hear. I mean, you guys seem to have just launched into this trajectory of success from day one. But yeah, you talk to any founder, anyone that's started anything, especially something as big as Glamping Hub or as unique. Yeah, you're in a total panic for a long time, it feels like. I mean, so much of your life revolves around stress. So when for you was there a moment or a time frame where you were like, okay, we got this? Or has it always been just success, failure, just on bigger and bigger scales, to where it's such a slow trajectory, you just feel the same as you did in month 3?
Right. No, I hope one day we'll feel like we have this, but we're definitely, even, the size now and how many properties we have, and we've got an office in Spain and an office in Denver, and we do bookings, every day all around the world. I can honestly say I don't think we feel like we have it yet, because of the amount of potential, just what is still yet to be done. And so what we've focused on is what's next for 2019. How do we move forward in the right direction? Because there's always going to be a sense of urgency and potential in the moment that we feel like we've got this. I'd almost be scared, because then you become complacent. This can be a very, very competitive industry. There's a lot of people trying to do and, kind of what we're doing, but just being able to maximize and take advantage of the outdoor market. And so I think it's very important for us to focus on what's next and not get caught up on, hey, we've made it or we've got it, because we know how big this can be, and we know all of the potential. And so that's a big responsibility for not only us, but everybody in the organization to make sure that we realize that potential.
What part of the experience with running the business and growing the business do you find the most rewarding? Like, what really gets you excited? Is it hearing people's reactions about their experience? Is it providing jobs for people? What do you like? Because, when a lot of businesses grow, a lot of founders have this original passion, but then it gets diluted with all the other responsibilities of board meetings and dealing with all this crap that you didn't foresee, when you were sending 2 people glamping and you were like, holy crap, like, look at these pictures. This is incredible. So what is it like? What's that been like for you? And what do you find the most rewarding?
Right. I think this is it has been from day one and continues to be today, and will be, I think, until, the end of our tenure here. But it is one of the most humbling experiences. I mean, yes, it's great being able to collaborate and go see some of these beautiful properties. And we do something called the Global Glamping Summit, which another one will be here in Denver in next October. And we get to just shake hands and have these great conversations with these business owners all around outdoor unique accommodations, and just seeing and hearing what they're doing is fascinating. So, a big part of the reward is having interactions with some really talented people, not only within Glamping Hub, but within the industry. But on top of that, I can tell you that it is one of the more humbling experiences, from day one. And it's humbling because you at least for me, there's a daily reminder that I don't know everything. And you have to learn to be able to innovate, and you have to be open to that growth, and you have to, be constantly asking the right questions, and early on, it's even more humbling because you're trying to do the board meeting, you're trying to create a strategy. And, if there's 5 people in your organization, when the printer breaks, you got to also fix a printer. You're a little bit of everything. And so that becomes a very humbling experience. But I would say, it's the mixture of being able to have those conversations and interact with very talented people. It's the ability to kind of consistently and constantly be learning new things. I mean, we've got a long list of things that we want to accomplish in 2019, and we don't know how to do all of them. And that's the process of being able to figure it out and learn and work with the right people. So I would honestly say that one of the biggest rewards is that you just have this kind of gratitude and gratefulness for the humbling journey.
So what's a specific scenario that humbled you?
We kind of a long story, but I'll try and keep it brief. Kind of go back to the printer example, but when early on, when we were trying to raise money, we flew out to Barcelona. Some of our investors are Spanish, but we had an introduction to a man named Gerard Piqué, which if for those who don't know who he is, he's won a World Cup. He's a starting defender for Barcelona, their soccer team. He's married, most notably, to Shakira, and he's a very well-known businessman, and he's made a tremendous wealth playing soccer over the last few years. And so we got an introduction to him to potentially be an investor. So you sit down with somebody, I'm sitting right next to him, and I look on his phone, and his screensaver is Shakira. That's a whole other, just a feeling of, wow, this guy is kind of top of his game. He's married to Shakira. He's got his own building full of these businesses that he runs on the side as well. And so, we have this great conversation with him, and As soon as we get back, you're riding high. Wow, look, this is the circle that we're now in, and here's the access that we have. And we come back and to the office, and at that point in time, walk back into the door, and instead of it being like, well, how'd it go and how is everything, the printer's broken. And so you end up spending 45 minutes trying to figure out how to fix the printer because people needed to print stuff. And so that was a very humbling experience, because there's always these highs are always followed by lows, and you can't forget what you need to do on a daily basis. And it was just a nice reminder that even though there would be some cool experiences and some great introductions and some great learning, the business needs to run. There needs to be stuff needs to get done on a day-to-day business. The printer needs to work. And so you can't get caught up in these highs, because there's not only a market and guest that we need to serve, but our employees are our biggest asset, and we got to make sure that they have the tools and resources so that they can be the best versions of themselves.
It's just funny, man. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you're like, holy crap! Like, look where we are. And the next thing you know, your dog has peed all over the carpet or something. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to deal with the most mundane task.
Right
after.
Right.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Life always has a funny way to remind you of reality.
That is too funny, man. Too funny. So, yeah, so you guys have seen some serious success. I don't know how you react to that. You probably remain, pretty focused, but and say, no, we're not there yet. But so where do you want Glamping Hub to be, say, in a decade? What is ideally, what does it look like to you?
No, that's a good question. I think there's, for us, we focused a lot on the United States, and that's been a great market for us, but there's also additional international markets that we want to be a bigger part in. So that's a part of it. And, for us, 10 years from now, we would love to be able to have, the best version possible of this global glamping summit that we run. Obviously everything with the day-to-day with Glamping Hub and serving the American market. But honestly, we feel that we're not far off from being that household name where people sit down at a computer and they say, great, we've got next weekend off. What do you guys want to do? And we're the top of the list that people say, well, let's go stay in a yurt and go mountain biking, or let's go to a safari tent. And they've got this great fly fishing spot, around the corner, or, let's fly out to Florida and they've got this beachside kind of beach casita. So we feel that we're not far off from being one of the top choices, if not the top choice, when people sit down and plan their next trip, and I honestly feel that way because just seeing the shifts in travel trends where, yes, people still need to stay in hotels, and yes, people still need to book an Airbnb when they go on business or things like that. But the way that the travel trends are shifting, when people have that free weekend or that holiday trip or the family reunion or the anniversary trip, people want to do something different. They don't want to be in a hotel. They don't want to do something that they've done 10 times over. They want to be able to go to one place and one website and say, what's different? What's unique? Wow, I've never stayed in a treehouse before. Let's go do that. That's only an hour away. Or I've never stayed in a safari tent before. Look at this. Look what's in that area. And so there's this palpable change in how people are traveling. And we feel that we're positioned to be that tool and resource so that people can kind of have a once in a lifetime vacation every time that they go on vacation. I don't think that we're far off from that.
Time for a quick message break. So you know that this show is brought to you by Camp Crate, and you hear that name quite a bit, but you might not know exactly what it is. Basically, Camp Crate is the bridge between people who want to have a backpacking experience but don't have gear and don't know where to start with planning. They're extremely helpful. They'll rent you the gear and they ship it right to your front door. If you just have friends that are already going, but you just are tagging along, but you don't have your own stuff, or you have gear, but really don't know where to go, they can help you with all that. So go to campcrate.net or send them an email at support@campcrate.net. Their whole mission is that you get in the backcountry and you have an awesome time on a self-guided adventure. Back to the episode. It sounds like a lot of pressure, to keep this platform available. I just think about that. I'm like, what if Airbnb just shut down? Like, how many people's lives would that just totally screw? I mean, I don't mean to put pressure on you, but not only the employees, but the people that you provide the platform for. Yeah. So how do you manage that pressure? What's something unique that you do to kind of garner inspiration on a daily basis, or just kind of stay centered, that most people probably wouldn't expect?
Yeah, I think that pressure is good, because if there wasn't pressure, then this probably wouldn't be as fun as it is. And I do always joke that I'm scared to death the day that I actually have to get a real job, because I feel very fortunate that I get to wake up and do this every single day. And it's because it's a passion, and because I love working with everybody that I get to work with, it just doesn't feel like work. It just feels like it's fun. And so, I think for us, me in particular, it's very important to always know who we are serving, because then it makes it, I don't want to say easy, but it makes it more straightforward, and the pressure doesn't feel as choking, if you will. And what we do is, we do the American Glamping Association. We've got the Global Glamping Summit. I talk to business owners and property owners regularly, just to have our finger on the pulse, and for us to know what the needs are. And when we understand who we're serving, and when we really understand who we're serving, then the decisions become easy. At that point, I think for most business owners, if the pressure is getting too real, or if they don't understand who they're serving, those decisions become tough, because you end up making some mistakes. But for us, it's pretty clear, who we serve and what we need to do. And so I think for me in particular, it's making sure that I do the best that I can to have my finger on the pulse and the American travel market. And then that way, our strategy and our decisions become more straightforward and easier. And you don't have that feeling of, man, are we making the right decision? Are we doing the right thing? Because we know who we're serving.
What's something for you that has been surprisingly easy with building Glamping Hub to the point it is? And what's something that's come surprisingly difficult?
I think for any business owner, but for us in particular, finding the right people who are passionate about what we're doing was not as hard as I thought it would be, because this is a business that started with the idea of being able, it started as a listing service, and we didn't really know what direction we wanted to head at the beginning. And it took a while for us to figure out, the system that was going to work for us. But, when you think of, and you create a business from scratch, I think there's a thought in the back of your mind of, man, I really got to convince somebody to be as passionate about this as I am. And, they weren't there from day one. So are they really going to be as involved and passionate and love this idea? And that's a thought that goes through your mind. But we've been very fortunate to have the staff and the leadership team that we have now, and they feel as passionate, if not more, about what we're doing and as an organization. And obviously we couldn't do it without them. But that was, I think, I don't want to say easy, but a lot easier than I thought. Hard. There's for us, I think it's always maintaining focus. There's so much opportunity in this space, and there's so much that we want to do. And my business partner and I, we both have similar personalities in that we just want to do everything. We want to bite off more than we can chew all the time. and it becomes a very kind of dangerous exercise. And so it's hard to take a step back and not try to run a million miles an hour and make sure that things are done correctly and at the right pace and in sync with the rest of the organizational goals and strategies, because you just see the potential and it sometimes becomes easy to just say, ooh, that looks fun and exciting, let's go ahead and do that, or oh, we should jump into that because that looks fun and exciting. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it can be a distraction. And I think most business owners have some version of that, of what is distracting and what is what needs to get done now.
Awesome, man. Well, this is good information. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with somebody that might be pursuing a career around their passion that involves the outdoors, or someone that at least has an idea?
I think one early recommendation is, I think maybe one or two, but one is, you always hear this, but I don't think people, it took us a while to grasp this idea, because you hear it, but you're like, no, it's okay, we got this. But do your best to surround yourself with some good mentors or people who've been there. And there's a lot of people, even if you're trying to do something that hasn't been done before, try to align yourself with individuals who've done something somewhat similar, and allow you to kind of save some time and not make the same mistakes is a huge part of it. And anybody who's in this space, or anybody who's trying to do something for the first time and start a business, just try to make it real as quickly as possible. And what I mean there is, people will have these ideas, and we all kind of flirt with different ways to start something, and you get a business plan maybe, and you start talking to people, but you never really jump into it because it's scary, right? And I'm not saying, great, you've got an idea and maybe it's not thought through completely, go ahead and quit your day job and just do it right away. That's not what I mean. What I mean is do your best to consistently make it real. Because business, when you're starting a business, you sometimes hide behind these kind of false narratives of, well, I can't do it, or it's going to be too hard, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the resources, or nobody's ever done this. And you hide behind those excuses, and you hide behind those kind of false barriers. So do your best to just make it real. Even in a very little way, as in actually get a website up, pay for the website, or get the social media up, or, have as many meetings as possible. And don't do what human nature sometimes demands, where we say, scary, I can't do it. And by making it real, it allows you to have these small victories. And within those small victories, you start to gain confidence, and you start to be able to say to yourself, wow, I think I can actually do this. And wow, this thing actually has legs. But you can't do that if it's not real. I think that the world is full of these great ideas that never got to market because it's scary. It's a very scary thought, to jump into something that hasn't been done. It's that thought of, how many times have business owners, presented. We went through this too. I can vividly remember the first time my business partner was here in Denver visiting. It was around the holidays, and I had a holiday party at my house. And I had some of my good friends that were there, and we started just telling people, hey, we've got this idea for glamping, and here's what we're thinking. And I can vividly remember everybody's face saying, oh, yeah, glamping sounds good. Good. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. And you can, that plays an emotional factor, and that kind of, diminishes your confidence a little bit as people are looking at you wide eyed saying, they're saying, oh, good, that sounds good. But you can tell they're saying, what are you thinking? Like, why is this an idea? And so that we're human, and we can read it, what other people are thinking. And when your friends or family, are not, they're going to have comments, and you trust them, but at the same time, you have to trust yourself over, everybody else. And I think my business partner and I, we've talked about this at length in the past, but one of the main reasons we wanted to start a business was because we wanted to bet on ourselves. We've worked for other people in the past, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to take an opportunity and kind of bet on ourselves and our potential versus betting on somebody else's potential.
Good words of wisdom, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, no, anytime. Anytime. It was great to talk to you, and have a good rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and thanks again for having me.
Yeah, man. Keep up the good work.
You too. Cool, Mason.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
again.
you too. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you know somebody that would make a good guest on the show, or if you have a pretty cool story about the outdoors or adventure sports that you want to tell us, please call us and leave a voicemail at 812-MAIL-POD. That is 812-624-5763. You can also send us an email at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. Again, it is always helpful to leave us a review on iTunes. And if you'd like to be a supporter of the show, you can give $5 a month at patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. And links for all that stuff is also in the show notes. So thanks again for listening. And y'all get out there and do something so you can be on the show one day. All right, later. Also, don't forget, if you want to save 20% off the best backpacking food on planet Earth, go to peakrefuel.com and at checkout, use the code ASP20.